And right now, right here on Brookland News Live, the latest on the war in Iran, as it now is a month, what we are learning, the new details, plus new polling suggesting the California gubernatorial race could go Republican, all as Eric Swalwell responds after a report from the Washington Post. Take a look at this, you guys. This is, again, coming in from the Washington Post, that Kash Patel could be in this attempt to push against the Democratic lawmaker, what we now know as he is now responding. We are also talking about Senator Rand Paul, who is opening up in this brand new interview with CBS, all about that. And the Pope rejecting war in a new prayer. Caroline Levitt's response to all of that in this edition of Brookland News Live.
It's time for all the news you need and more. Brookland News Live starts right now.
And it is so good to be with you. Welcome in to Brookland News Live. A few changes you may have already noticed. New graphics, new everything, guys. We're kind of rebranding here, and we'll bring you, still gonna bring you the same news. We got new music, new everything, guys. So welcome into this brand new edition of Brookland News Live. I'm Jackson Mitchell. It is Tuesday, March 31st. Want to take you first to the latest on the war in Iran as you take a live look there at Beirut, Lebanon, as we are now continuing to learn more there. 50,000 U.S. troops are in the Middle East as Iran claims America is prepping for a ground invasion, while publicly saying they are negotiating to end the war. Rachel Scott with ABC questioning Caroline Levitt on that exact question yesterday in the Oval Office.
You addressed this a little bit in the opening, but just to follow up, because Americans are sort of seeing these conflicting messages between the United States and Iran. I know the president insists that negotiations are underway. As you just mentioned, he's also said that Iran has agreed to most of the 15 points. We just heard from Iran again. They're saying no negotiations are taking place. They're calling the proposal excessive, unrealistic. So how do you square that? How do you explain that discrepancy between the two?
I think the American people are smart enough not to take the word of a terrorist regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years at their word. And I hope the journalists in this room are wise enough not to take an Iranian regime that has repeatedly lied about our country, about our values, about everyone in this room, frankly, for nearly 5 decades. So I think the American public are smart enough.
Caroline Levitt there on that question, saying she believes the American people are smart enough not to trust what she called a not-so-good government, essentially. This comes as oil prices are continuing to rise. Let's get you through to your daily update on AAA. A look at gas prices here. Right now, fuel averaging at $4. So as I show you this, it has been a slow uprise in prices as time has continuously ticked on here. So I want to get you to the fuel prices right now. $4. Looking at that national average right now. Talking specifically about Arkansas right now, we are looking at an average of $3.44 that is up from yesterday at $3.40, so 4 cents up here. The national average only up by a little less than 1 cent. It was about $3.99 yesterday. Specifically in Cricket County, oil prices right now $3.43. Got to be something to watch for. Get you into the AAA Metro. Right now in Jonesboro, the average here $3.46. Yesterday's was $3.43, going all the way back a month ago. $2.66. That was at the very beginning of this conflict a year ago. $2.75. Now the highest recorded average for regular unleaded fuel here in Jonesboro was $4.55 back in 2022. So we are continuing to follow the averages there on fuel prices, and we'll continue to bring, as we have done throughout this entire thing, updates on where things stand on fuel prices. Now, those prices continuing to rise as the Strait of Hormuz is remaining closed. Now, that is that vital area of water where oil comes from. It's very vital. It is where the U.S. gets oil. A large part of, I believe, Japan also gets their oil from there. Now, President Trump has set a deadline for the Iranians to open the Strait of Hormuz. And that is on April 6th at 7 p.m. Central. Now, this comes after 2 previous adjustments to that date. Trump now says he thinks there has been regime change in Iran.
Change, if you look already, because the one regime was decimated, destroyed, they're all dead. The next regime is mostly dead. And the third regime, we're dealing with different people than anybody's dealt with before. It's a whole different group of people. So I would consider that regime change. And frankly, they've been very reasonable. So I think we've had regime change. I mean, we can't do much better than that. The regime that was really bad, really evil was the first one. That was done. The second was appointed, and they're gone. They're all dead. Other than one who may have a little life in him. And then there really are the third group. And the third group of people that seem to be much more reasonable. It truly is regime change. We've had very good negotiations today with Iran, getting a lot of the things that they should have given us a long time ago. We'll see how it works out, but they're very good. Moving along very nicely. They've destroyed a lot of additional targets today. The Navy's gone, the Air Force is gone, we know that. But we destroyed many, many targets today. It was a big day. And we are negotiating with them directly and indirectly. As you know, they've agreed to send 8 boats 2 days ago, and then they added another 2, so it was 10 boats. And now today they gave us as a tribute, I don't know, I can't define it exactly, but they gave us, I think out of a sign of respect, 20 boats of oil, big, big boats of oil, going through the Hormuz Strait. And that's taking place starting tomorrow morning. I would only say that we're doing extremely well in that negotiation, but you never know with Iran, because we negotiate with them and then we always have to blow them up, whether it's the B-2 bombers or just terminating, as an example, the Iran nuclear deal done by Barack Hussein Obama, probably the worst deal we've ever done as a country, one of the dumbest deals we've ever done.
Alrighty there, President Trump on Air Force One Sunday on all of this and where things stand right now on the war in Iran, saying there has been regime change. Defense Secretary or War Secretary Pete Hegseth also speaking this morning on all of this. Here's the Secretary of Defense or War on the latest update and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
This morning it is truth that there are countries around the world who ought to be prepared to step up on this critical waterway as well. It's not just the United States Navy. Last time I checked, there was supposed to be a big bad Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. So he's pointing out this is an international waterway that we use less than most, in fact, dramatically less than most. So the world ought to pay attention to be prepared to stand up. President Trump's been willing to do the heavy lifting on behalf of the free world to address this threat of Iran. It's not just our problem set going forward, even though we have done the lion's share of preparation to ensure that that strait will be open, which is an outcome the president's been very clear on. I think other countries should pay attention when the president speaks. He's proven that when he speaks, he means something, and he's pointing out, you might want to start learning how to fight for yourself. It's something some of us have been saying for quite some time. You can't just have flags, you have to have formations. You can't just have a few ships, you have enough to affect change. Those things matter in a dangerous world with ascendant adversaries.
Pete Hegseth on all of this morning saying things matter. That he's saying that these people didn't come to our help, also in a way criticizing, and he talked about the royal, which is over in the United Kingdom, going to this because President Donald Trump this morning on his social media pages said, quote, all of those countries that can't get fuel because of the Strait of Hormuz, like the United Kingdom, who again you heard there Pete Pete X has specifically mentioned, which refused to get involved in the decapitation of Iran. I have a suggestion for you. Number one, buy from the U.S. We have plenty. And number two, build up some delayed courage. Go to the strait and just take it. You'll have to start learning how to fight for yourself. The USA won't be there to help you anymore. Just like you weren't there for the U.S. for us, excuse me. Iran has been essentially decimated. The hard part is done. Go get your own oil. President DJT. So that is President Trump this morning on the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. This comes as we've learned new reporting in, also from the Washington Post, saying that that aides have heard the president weighing an option to end this war without the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz. No new details have exactly come in on that. That is just new reporting that we are getting in. Alrighty, it is Tuesday, March 31st. There is a lot of news we still have to get to. I do want to take you right now, though, to this live shot that we are getting in from the Kennedy Space Center in Merritt Island, Florida, where the Artemis 2 is expected to be launched here in just a moment. So again, this is the scheduled launch or a test here. Off the Kennedy Space Center's pad 39B in Florida, which you're watching a live look there. We are awaiting for the April 1st launch at 6:24. So that is what we are watching for right now. Excuse me, I got my times a little bit mixed up again on April 1st. So now that is what we are watching about all of this. I believe today was the day they were supposed to do it, and there was a timer that had about 30 minutes for this launch. So I'm checking really quickly here. Okay, the clock started ticking down at 4, excuse me here. Yeah, it's going to launch April 1st, 2026, 6:24 p.m. according to what I'm reading. Now, we are, right now, again, we do have this live look, though, of Artemis 2. It is a story we're going to bring to you later this hour. So stick with us for that as we continue to watch this camera there. Also, when we come back, we have just gotten in some breaking news from the Supreme Court from this morning. We are going to bring you some new developments that we're just getting on conversion therapy. You heard that right. The Supreme Court ruling on that this morning. We're coming back here in just a few moments with more Brooklyn News Live. And welcome back here into Brookland News Live. Of course, it is still good to be with you. We are continuing to monitor that live shot there on the right side of your screen at the Kennedy Space Center, and we'll bring you updates on that mission a little later in the hour. Welcome back here into Brookland News Live. We're continuing to track a number of breaking news stories, including this big one. We are just learning today, this morning really, that the Supreme Court is now ruling on conversion therapy. We'll have to show you this new ruling that we are just getting in from the Supreme Court justices, and I do want to read you a piece of that here in just a moment. Inside this ruling, it says that they upheld a Colorado law restricting conversion therapy for minors, allowing counseling for identity exploration while prohibiting attempts to change a minor's sexual orientation or gender identity. Now, Justice Neil Gorsuch delivered the opinion, joined by Justices John Roberts, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. Justice Kagan filed a concurring opinion with Justice Sotomayor. Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented, arguing the law restricts First Amendment speech. The decision highlights his state's authority to regulate professional speech to protect minors while balancing free speech protections. We want to show you a quote from earlier today on all of this. This is again coming in from the Supreme Court. So we want to show you a quote from some of the justices and kind of what they had to say on this big breaking news story that we're following right now. I don't know, excuse me here, I'm going to look over here to read this, but specifically in the opinion of the court read by, again, Justice Gorsuch, quote, states have broad authority to regulate the professional conduct of licensed counselors in order to protect minors from practices that the state finds harmful, unquote. Another one of those key quotes within that affirming opinion, quote, the law does not bar discussion or support support for identity exploration. It only prohibits attempts to change a minor's sexual orientation or gender identity. Now, another one, I want to kind of go down about to the very last one, where Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson dissented from the majority of the court here, saying, quote, I respectfully dissent because the law imposes viewpoint-based restrictions on speech, chilling constitutionally protected expression. So, big news there. From the Supreme Court that we are continuing to follow. So again, that big breaking news story coming out this morning from the Supreme Court on conversion therapy. Again, the court ultimately deciding that they will uphold a Colorado bill that went against, excuse me here, I want to get my facts exactly right, but they're going to upheld a Colorado law restricting conversion therapy for minors. Alrighty, Republican Senator Rand Paul now weighing in on why he has become not afraid to speak against the Republican Party. Republican Senator Rand Paul has often become the focal point of trying to, where President Trump has to get what he claims has to kind of get on a late night phone call to get a senator to vote in favor of Republicans to help them. Rand Paul being one of those, oftentimes breaking with his party, including on major votes for Republicans. Again, in this new CBS News interview, CBS Sunday interview, he's weighing exactly that. Take a look.
War than just about anything else. But I did 2 big mailings to about...
But Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is the lone exception.
He's not allowed to start any military action unless it's authorized or an imminent attack. If it's not imminent, it's not authorized under the Constitution or the War Powers Act.
For Paul, this moment is testing whether Congress, now in Republican control, will assert itself, as Founding Father James Madison intended.
When people look at all of this, are they seeing Congress functioning as a co-equal branch of government when it comes to foreign policy and war powers or not?
Not. Madison said that we give the legislature certain powers and the president certain powers, and as each tried to grasp for the power, they would check and balance each other. I don't think our founders ever imagined our current Congress that is completely lacking in ambition. They don't check the president.
As for checking Trump, Paul started doing that more than a decade ago when they had competing White House bids.
His visceral response to attack people on their appearance, short, tall, fat, would we not all be worried to have someone like that in charge of the nuclear arsenal?
Mr. Trump.
I never attacked him on his look, and believe me, there's plenty of subject matter right there. That I can tell you.
Since then, they've mostly patched things up. But the senator isn't afraid to break with Trump, especially when he feels hawkish advisors are in the president's ear.
I think he was misled by some of the more aggressive people. His basic instincts have been for less war.
Making things even trickier on the Homeland front, Paul's testy relationship with President Trump's new pick to run DHS, Secretary Markwayne Mullin.
Haven't heard I misspoke.
Paul opposed his nomination over character and Mullin's response to a 2017 incident where Paul was assaulted.
So you're jolly well fine, and you want the American public and the people up here to vote that may or may not vote for you to know that you supported the felonious, violent attack on me from behind.
I did not say I supported it. I said I understood it. There's a difference.
Have you had a conversation with Secretary Mullin since he was sworn in?
I have not, and we'll operate in a professional manner as time goes on.
A guy like Massey, his poll numbers are showing he's at 6% approval rating right now. And we call him Rand Paul Jr. because he never votes for the Republican Party.
Alrighty, there you go. That new reporting in from CBS News Sunday. CBS Sunday Morning, on an exclusive interview with Rand Paul on all of this, saying that he simply does not believe that the president should have started a war without congressional approval. Now, we've played clips before in previous editions of Brookland News Live where the president says he's avoiding using the language war and rather saying military operation to avoid requiring congressional approval. So Rand Paul there on why he's not afraid to speak against the Republican Party. Alrighty, we've also got some new news we want to bring you. New polling is suggesting the California governor's race could flip red. You heard that right. In a largely blue state, new polling we're getting in. I want to show you a picture of here some of this polling. I'm going to kind of push it in specifically so you can see the candidates here. This is for the California governor's race. Eric Swalwell comes in third. That is the Democrat. Chad Bianco, Steve Hilton are both Republicans in this race. And you see this, they are the two top people. You might be wondering, why is that? Well, it's forced this new polling now forcing Democrats to face a real risk of being locked out of the California governor's race. It's all due to the state's top two primary system. This new polling is suggesting, okay, could this actually be a factor that is played in this race? Well, this two-party system, primary system, says the top two people are who go forward. So, a crowded field of Democratic candidates splitting the vote and two strong Republicans consolidating GOP support. Now going to force that. So you see there in this new polling, Steve Hilton, Chad Bianco up first, then Eric Swalwell. So essentially, what this new report, I guess, kind of said is that there's too many Democrats in the race. Too many Democrats and there's not one that just sticks out and has a large amount of support. While in this polling average, Eric Swalwell, who is a Democrat running to become the next California governor, is in third. Does he have enough votes or support from other Democrats in order to get him within Steve Hilton or Chad Bianco against a Republican? That is the question that is now being asked. And could it be a Steve Hilton, Chad Bianco race? At least the polling suggests maybe it is so. Why is that? Again, as I said, there's too many Democrats in the race, and so all these people that are voting are not voting for one Democrat. So all those votes from Democrats are going to separate Democrats that are in the race to become the next governor, forcing the two Republican candidates to continue to come first in polling there. So again, that polling now has 2 Republicans as the front runner. So this is a race that we are going to watch. Now, this comes amid reporting that Eric Swalwell is now reacting to. We showed you this all yesterday, but he's now reacting to that Washington Post reporting that suggests that maybe the FBI is targeting him. The Washington Post coming out and saying, quote, Kash Patel's push against Democratic lawmaker raises concerns within FBI. Speaking of the California governor's race here, Eric Swalwell, the representative in the House who represents California, is now speaking out following this exact report. I want to play that for you. Here is Eric Swalwell speaking out here.
With early voting starting in about a month, Trump and Patel are trying to interfere in the California election. This case is closed. The Bureau said over 10 years ago, all we did was help. But this effort to weaponize the FBI against the president's political enemy at a time that we are at war shows a distraction. It shows an obsession with going after the president's political opponents.
Eric Swalwell responding, saying that President Trump and his administration have a, quote, obsession of going after political opponents there. So Swalwell now reacting to that new reporting. Okay, we're going to take another quick break. You are watching Brookland News Live. Thanks for sticking with us. We're back here in just a moment with more of the stories making headlines across the nation. You're watching Brookland News Live on this Tuesday. And welcome back here into Brooklyn News. We've just gotten in some breaking news, so we want to thank you for being with us on this Tuesday. This is what kind of the live news looks like, and I'm sorry for keeping you in that break for so long. But within the last few moments, we've just learned that a judge has just now made a ruling for the Trump administration to halt the construction of their ballroom. In this ruling, we are learning that the U.S. District Judge Richard Leon in Washington granted a preservationist group's request for a preliminary injunction that would temporarily halt the building of the ballroom. The National Trust for Historic Preservation sued for an order pausing the ballroom until it undergoes multiple independent reviews and wins approval from Congress. Now, President Trump, within the last few moments, this is kind of what it took us so long here because we were working on this. He is weighing in a quite lengthy post on Truth Social. I want to read you a piece from that post that he, again, has just made a few moments ago on Truth Social, where he is now reacting again to this judge's ruling that came in a few moments ago. He says, quote, "The National Trust for the Historic Preservation sues me for a ballroom that is under budget, ahead of schedule, being built at no cost to the taxpayer, and will be the finest building of its kind anywhere in the world. I then get sued by them over the renovation of the dilapidated, I believe is what that says, excuse me if I got that wrong, and structurally unsound former Kennedy Center, now the Trump Kennedy Center." He goes on to say, radical left group of lunatics whose funding was stopped by Congress in 2005 is not suing the Federal Reserve for building a building which has been decimated and destroyed inside and out by an incompetent and possibly corrupt Fed chairman. He goes on to say Governor Gavin Newsom's railroad to nowhere is also not being sued in California. That is billions over budget. It appears that he continuously launches attacks on other people saying this group is suing me, but you are not suing these other people. So again, President Trump now weighing in on his social media page to this ruling that we just got in a few moments ago. So again, some breaking news we are continuing to follow. And of course, this is a story that we will also continue to follow because it is a big one. The latest update on the ballroom construction that is ongoing at the White House. So that breaking news just out a few moments ago. Alrighty, a student at a Texas preparatory school, excuse me here, we're now learning about, excuse me here, we're having some issues with our graphics. See, this is, we were actually going to launch this, I'll kind of let you in behind the scenes here. We were going to launch this on April 1st, but I wanted to make sure I could work out the kinks in our new graphics program, new music, see what still needed to be worked on. But again, we do want to still cover the news here. So a student at Texas prep school kills a teacher, then kills himself with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. That occurred early yesterday morning. A 15-year-old student shot a teacher at Hill Country Preparatory College High School in Como ISD, then died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This is according to the sheriff there in that county. The teacher was taken to a hospital. We still don't know her condition. Now, the school was locked down. The situation was contained quickly, according to the sheriff. We want to play a piece from the sheriff earlier. This was going to be yesterday on this shooting.
There was a school shooting that occurred at the campus of Hill Country Preparatory College in the Bulverde area of Comal County. A teacher was shot and she has been transported to the hospital. We do not know the status of her condition at this time. The shooter, a 15-year-old male student, died at the scene. We are still working out there. It's still a live scene under investigation. And I want to be very clear, this situation was contained very, very quickly. So immediately responding deputy sheriffs with the Comal County Sheriff's Office, the Bulverde Police Department. I had phone calls from the Texas Rangers. There was a constable in the area. So there was a multiple unit response.
Now, the sheriff also saying in this press conference that, again, no student was harmed, just that teacher whose condition at this point in time, again, still unknown. The school was canceled today amid that situation, and there is, at least at this point in time, no other threat that is still ongoing. Now, counseling support is being provided for students and people who need it there at that school as authorities investigate how exactly this student got that firearm. Well, we want to turn right now. This is a really interesting story if you've been following it. So Kid Rock took to social media recently here and posted a video of Apache helicopters flying near his home. Now, this was in Tennessee. The 101st Airborne Division now says an administrative review is underway. I want to show you some of that video here. Let's play it for you. So again, this was posted on X by Kid Rock. Again, as I just moments ago said, there is an administrative review underway to check if the flight followed rules and safety standards. Now in the video, you'll see Kid Rock's not only saluting, but reacting as the helicopters pass over his property. He also used a post to criticize Gavin Newsom, continuing their ongoing public dispute. So again, an ongoing investigation into what exactly happened there. And we'll update you on that because I'm really interested to see exactly why that helicopter was flying so close to Kid Rock's home. Alrighty. We got more to come. Taylor Swift now returning to the red carpet over the weekend. We're going to talk about it. And an Amber Alert sent for a child in St. Louis. The child doesn't actually exist. What law enforcement now says led to that finding when we come back on Brookland News Live. And welcome back into Brookland News on this Tuesday. A live look right now at the White House after that judge just ruled moments ago that construction for the ballroom that was going to be built on the East Wing now to be paused. A preliminary injunction granted by a judge there. Alrighty, Taylor Swift is making her red carpet return at the iHeart Music Awards. Taylor Swift appeared there, a rare public appearance at the iHeartRadio Music Awards in Los Angeles. It marks her first time on a red carpet at a major awards since 2023. Now, she arrived in a striking, it was really beautiful, seafoam green corset and skirt outfit tied to her latest album, The Life of a Showgirl. Swift was nominated in multiple top categories and went on to win several big awards that night. Here's just one of those acceptance speech to Artist of the Year. Take a look here. This is at the iHeart Music Awards over the weekend. Alrighty, good for Taylor Swift there. She makes her return to the red carpet with her boyfriend, Travis Kelce, there in the distance, as you saw there in the camera. So her latest album, Life of a Showgirl, now out. Maybe a little bit of free promo. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, you either really love her or you hate her. I know a lot of people that hate her. Some of my friends included in there. I don't quite get it. I don't want to consider myself what do they call her fans, a Swiftie. I don't consider myself an all a Swiftie, but I mean I do enjoy some of her music. Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. That is a song on her latest album that I recommend you all go listen to. I like it. So want to turn to more serious news though, because we were just learning that an Amber Alert sent out for a child in St. Louis County was for a child that didn't exist. You heard that right. St. Louis County Police revealed that a child abduction report was fabricated by a woman who claimed to be a 5-year-old's guardian. Now, she said her car was stolen. Her kid was essentially put in this car, then the car was stolen. Now, the report would lead to an Amber Alert, but the child was never missing. It's unclear the exact motive of all of this. Now, the woman and her roommate have been arrested and could face charges for filing a false police report. The motivation behind the false report is unclear, but police are continuing to search they did find the car though, so police continuing to search though. Want to play a video from a local authority on exactly a motive on all of this.
I don't necessarily know. I don't know if it was a sense of panic. I don't know if the individual thought that they would get more response to the fact that their vehicle had been stolen. So I can't speak to the motivation of the individual to make a claim like that.
Yeah, so we're all asking the same question. Why? I mean, just why would you do that? So there's no clear answer. Here's the headline. Child abduction report was made up. St. Louis County Police say. Okay, more news to come as always. We still got your forecasts coming up. Stick with us for that. It is a beautiful day if you step outside in Brooklyn. We're going to talk your forecast coming up. Plus, Pope Leo using prayer to criticize war. The Trump administration now reacting to that. Plus, an executive order in the state of Florida signed by the governor there could rename the Palm Beach International Airport. What that new name is and the criticism it's already getting. We're still watching Kennedy Space Center. We're talking about the Artemis 2 launch set for tomorrow. That is all when we come back on this Tuesday edition of Brooklyn News Live. Alrighty, welcome back live here in the Brooklyn News Live. Continuing to take a look there at the Kennedy Space Center, Merritt Island, Florida, where that is located ahead of the Artemis 2 launch. I know we mentioned it earlier, we're actually going to talk about it coming up, so stick with us for that. Right now, Pope Leo using prayer to criticize war. This is all new in over the weekend. Also on Sunday, this happened for Palm Sunday in Rome. So we're now getting more information on that, because now the Trump administration is responding to all of this. I want to play the piece here from Pope Leo, where again at St. Peter's Square he reflected on Jesus as the King of Peace who rejects war, emphasizing Jesus' passion as a gift of love and his desire. So Pope Leo, I'm going to play his exact remarks. I want to warn you, they're not in English, so beware here. You're going to have to read some captions coming up. Going to play that for you. Then I'm also going to play at the second part of this clip is going to be Caroline Leavitt, who is the White House press secretary, responding. Take a look.
Cristo, Re della pace, grida ancora dalla sua croce. Dio è amore, abbiate pietà, deponete le armi, ricordatevi che siete fratelli. Vorrei affidare questo grido a Maria Santissima, che sta sotto la croce del Figlio e piange anche ai piedi dei crocifissi di oggi. Santa Maria, Donna del terzo giorno, donaci la certezza che nonostante tutto la morte non avrà più presa su di noi, che le ingiustizie dei popoli hanno i giorni contati, che i bagliori delle guerre si stanno riducendo a luci crepuscolari.
Since you mentioned Easter and prayers, I wanted to ask you about something the Pope said yesterday. So Pope Leo said yesterday, and I quote him, God does not listen to the prayer of those who wage war. Can you comment on that?
I think our nation was a nation founded 250 years ago almost on Judeo-Christian values, and we've seen presidents, we've seen the leaders of the Department of War, and we've seen our troops go to prayer during the most turbulent times in our nation's history. And I don't think there's anything wrong with our military leaders or with the president calling on the American people to pray for our service members and those who are serving our country overseas. In fact, I think it's a very noble thing to do. And if you talk to many service members, they will tell you they appreciate the prayers and support from the Commander-in-Chief and from his cabinet.
So there you go, Caroline Leavitt responding to all of that, and Pope Leo there saying that, you know, God is the man of peace here, not the man of war. Okay, we also have some more news we're going to get to right after this quick 30-second break. You're watching Brooklyn News Live. Please stick with us. We're back here in just a moment with the latest. See, it does not even feel like that long. That was a quick 30-second break we wanted to get to here. We're now learning after a bill signed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Well, that inside that bill that was signed late yesterday, it would rename Palm Beach International Airport as Donald J. Trump International Airport. That begin July 1st with a new airport identifier, DJT. So again, Palm Beach International likely to be renamed DJT. This is if the FCC goes ahead with this and passes this, or FAA, excuse me. FCC is for broadcast. FAA is for aviation. Excuse me. So now federal agencies will have to update their navigational, charts and databases. And U.S. Representative Brian Mast has already introduced companion legislation to ensure national coordination while Trump family members celebrated the change and Florida Democrats have already criticized it. It's going to cost $2.75 million in state funding allocated for signage and branding updates. This is not the first thing that has been renamed after the president. We actually already mentioned it earlier because we were reading a True Social post from the president where he mentioned how the former Kennedy Center now renamed the Trump Kennedy Center. So not the first thing that we've seen renamed after the president. Alrighty, we want to sneak you outside your door right now, take you to our camera live in Brooklyn. It was freezing up a little bit earlier. It looks like it's working okay right now, at least. That R-dot camera there, a live look outside. Forecast, not going to be too bad at all, and it's not even that bad, just speaking about today. Taking a look outside right now, tonight we're looking at about a low of 67. It is windy, but that is expected here, as we've seen throughout the last few days. Wednesday, high of 84, low of 67, so it's going to be another hot day on Wednesday. By Thursday, a high of 78, a low of 66, so a hot couple of days. The thing about Thursday to watch for is we are likely going to see a little bit of some rain, some PM showers. That's what's being forecasted right now, so stick aware of that. 256 right now, you're already seeing that line grow on School Street. If you saw that car that was lined up there, as traffic grows for school traffic. School ends, of course, here in just a few moments. Alrighty, launching to the moon. We promised we would talk about it, so here we are. Artemis 2 scheduled to launch tomorrow, 6:24 p.m. So that's 5:24 Central from the Kennedy Space Center's pad 39B in Florida. Now this mission, it's headed to the moon, guys. It's launching 4 astronauts on a 10-day trip around the moon using the SLS rocket and Orion spacecraft. This is the first crewed flight beyond Earth orbit in over 50 years. Now the crew includes Reese Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Koch here, and Jeremy Hansen. Key milestones on all of this include Earth orbit, checks a quote prox ops maneuver, a translunar injection burn. Now this 4-day journey around the far side of the moon and a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Launch coverage is going to be available on NASA Plus. So if you're wanting to watch this, we won't be here for you to watch the entire thing. I'm sure we'll talk about it even more tomorrow. But NASA Plus, and I've also just seen that CNN on that screen behind me is going to have special coverage. I'm sure the other news organizations will as well. I want to play a video about all of this from a press conference that occurred a few days ago on an update about this here. This is, again, a few days ago from NASA.
We've got the all of our planned work is complete. Launch countdown preps are complete. We had all of them essentially done on Saturday. Emergency egress system is configured, ready to go. Crew access arm configured. We are now into, like I said, our launch countdown operations. So we'll power up Orion a little bit later this evening, and then core stage a little bit later after that, and then ICPS will follow. We'll begin the configurations of the vehicle, the checkouts that we do prior to getting deeper into our countdown, and all of this will take us over the next day or so. We do have our air to GN2 changeover. Will happen early in the morning on the 1st, and as you know, that kind of sets the pace for when we can tank the vehicle. Our LD.
Alrighty, there, an update from NASA. Remember, again, the news org is likely going to have coverage of it, but I know NASA Plus is also going to have coverage of it. Remember, you can join us each and every weekday at 2 p.m. Thank you for joining us as we kind of did some new things, relaunched our graphics on this Tuesday. We'll be back Wednesday with more of the news that is impacting you. We'll leave you off on a shot of the White House. Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your day. We're back here tomorrow at 2 p.m.